that warm welcome. In fact, I should be welcoming all the esteemed faculty members and research scholars from across the country who are attending this 5-day FDP program. I don't know who all are present there physically, but I believe that the head of the Department of Management and our registrar, Professor Avinash Bajpai, Professor Kanchan Bhatia, Kapil, and your entire team is present there. And of course, our heads of the department, faculty members who have joined from online, and also because this is being streamed live on FB, I believe that a lot of media scholars media students have also joined this. So, thank you for your good wishes. 1 year, I never realized that, how 1 year passed. And, thank you. This would not have been possible without a dynamic team like, the team that I have at Makhanlal Chaturvedi University, who have made it possible. Whatever little achievements we were able to achieve in the last 1 year, despite the COVID lockdown and the scenario, we have been able to do it because of the hard work, sincerity of our team. A leader is nothing without a team. And I am really privileged to have such a great team at the university. And that is why the university has been able to roll out in these difficult times 7 new courses under the National Education Policy. We were among the first universities in the country. We had no benchmark. We had no example to emulate. We had to start from the scratch. We had to invent the wheel. So, our faculty members, our heads of department put their heads together through online platforms, because at that time the university had not opened when we started working on this. And we came out with a model which is now being looked upon with a lot of awe and respect by universities from across the country and the state. In fact, I received so many calls requesting for NEP, details of the NEP programs that we have introduced, including the curriculum. It has been a long drawn exercise where we sought advice from the best in the industry and the best in the best of educationists, leading thinkers, and we came out with a draft which has been vetted, re-vetted and vetted again, and it's a continuous process. It's an evolving document because the finer details are trickling in, if I may use that term. The NEP finer details are still trickling in, slowly but steadily. And it is very difficult. It is easy to take a course from one of the universities, modify it a little and put out something new. But here there is no scope for copy-paste because it's an original document that we have prepared. Because NEP is not just another policy. It is set to revolutionize education if implemented in letter and spirit. ये इसका महत्व है. India never had a paucity of good teachers और गुड स्टूडेंट्स. पूरे विश्व में सिलिकॉन वैली से लेकर नासा और पूरे विश्व भर के जो बेहतरीन डॉक्टर्स विशेषज्ञ हैं वो कहीं ना कहीं भारत से हैं, भारतीय मूल से हैं। और इसी शिक्षा पद्धति से जो 75 साल से हम लोग लेकर चले हैं, उसी के उपज हैं वो। दे आर प्रोडक्ट्स ऑफ द सेम एजुकेशन सिस्टम एंड दे आर डूइंग एक्सट्रीमली वेल। Some of the top Fortune 500 companies have Indians as CEOs. And we are proud to see wherever I've been fortunate to travel to a lot of countries, and I have found Indians doing extremely well abroad. Then what is the difference? The difference is both in quantity and quality. Whatever has been achieved so far has been primarily due to individual efforts of the teachers and the students. Not a systematic effort, a systemic effort. योजनाबद्ध तरीके से नहीं किया गया, बहुत सहज तरीके से अपने आप अच्छे टेक्नोक्रेट्स, अच्छे ब्यूरोक्रेट्स, अच्छे जो है साइंटिस्ट, वैज्ञानिक, अच्छे पत्रकार, ये सब तैयार होते रहे, लेकिन ज़्यादा उसमें अपने पुरुषार्थ से सिस्टम का कंट्रीब्यूशन बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं था, माहौल ऐसा नहीं था। अगर आपको याद हो तो ऐसे फिल्में बनी थी इस देश में, एक डॉक्टर की मौत जैसे, जिसमें किन कठिन परिस्थितियों में एक वैज्ञानिक को काम करना पड़ता है और ब्रेन ड्रेन की बात कही गई है। आज हम रिवर्स ब्रेन ड्रेन की बात कर रहे हैं। वो इस कारण क्योंकि आज हमारी क्षमताएं बेहतर हो गई है, और ये जो राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति है, नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी कंसेप्चुअलाइजेस दैट वन ऑफ द रीजंस व्हाई वी लैग्ड बिहाइंड, एक कारण जो हम लोग पीछे रह गए वो है कि our universities have been primarily TLCs or teaching and learning centers. We have not been research institutions. Abroad, most of the universities and institutions invest heavily in research. Number one. Number two, एक ऐसा माहौल, ambience, environment which is conducive for research is provided to the researchers. Is somebody talking? Kanchan ji?
Just a minute, sir.
Now, what I wanted to say is that, a conducive atmosphere for research and learning has to be created, and that has to be created in the schools, right from the primary to the higher education. We have to create that kind of an atmosphere where excellence is promoted, where chalta hai doesn't work. That chalta hai attitude has to go. We always take pride in saying that, we had some of the finest institutions in the world once upon a time. Whether it is Nalanda, Takshashila, Vikramashila, scholars from across the globe, leading civilizations used to come there to study. And there are a few factors which was responsible for that. And one of the factors is that in India, we always gave respect to the teachers. There is no country in the world where you have a tradition of Guru Purnima, where the Guru is equated at par with God, where the Rajguru used to occupy a higher place than the Raja himself. That was the kind of respect which the teachers had. So there has been a decline in that institution where teachers were marginalized over the decades. What the NEP restores is the primacy of the teacher. The teacher is at the center of the national education policy. Yes, it's a student-driven policy, but no government, center or state, no bureaucrat, no vice chancellor can implement it. The only person who can implement it is the teacher. The teacher has to now acquire the role of a guru and mentor. Now, why I am only talking about NEP? Because this is important, because this is related to media education. Because the topic that has been given to me is NEP and media education. Is there a reference to media education in our 64-page document? No. There is no reference. We have a century-old history of media education in this country. We are completing 100 years of media education in India, right from the moment Dr. Annie Besant started, an informal media education facility. We count media, the history of media education from there. But what have we achieved over the last 100 years? This is also the time to introspect. आत्मावलोकन करने का समय है, आत्ममंथन करने का समय है कि मीडिया एजुकेशन में हमने क्या अचीव किया. Media, yesterday we celebrated International Day of Democracy. Yesterday we also celebrated the establishment day of Doordarshan. Yesterday also saw the launch of Sansad TV by the Prime Minister, the Honorable Vice President and the Honorable Lok Sabha Speaker. The role of media in a democracy. Can you think of democracy without a free and independent media? Today media is, and by media I am not talking about just the news media. By media I am talking about every aspect of media. From information, education, communication to entertainment. From OTT platforms, podcasts and television to billboards, posters and pamphlets. Media covers a huge range, and there is no aspect of our life which is untouched by media. The morning cup of tea is incomplete without the morning newspaper. You need to know what is happening in your locality, in your city, in your country, in the world. You need to, either switch on your television sets or you have to go to your smartphone. Today communication has become an integral part of our lives. And I am not talking about just interpersonal communication within the family. I am talking about communication across the spectrum. From international level to national, today we are able to understand the different shades of COVID-19 thanks to media. Whether it is print, electronic, social, digital, we know so much about it. It has become part of our, vocabulary. black fungus, white fungus, hotspots, isolation zones, vaccination, you name it, pandemic. These have all become part of our, common, everyday common vocabulary and usage, thanks to media. But when media is so pervasive, all pervasive, then don't we need to understand media? Something that is so all pervasive, we need to understand. And that is what media education and media literacy are about. Now, but what is the state of media education in this country? Yes, today media is being taught in almost every central and state university. There are very big institutions. I've been fortunate to head two of those national institutions. The Indian Institute of Mass Communication and the Makhanlal Chaturvedi National University of Journalism and Communication. We have Kushabau Thakre, we have Haridev Joshi University, two more universities exclusively dedicated to media. There are schools and departments spread across the country. I myself have headed departments, schools like School of Modern. I set up that school at the University of Petroleum and Energy Studies. There are schools like Delhi School of Journalism. There are institutions and institutions. There are courses and courses. But there are also teaching shops in every nook and corner, which is cashing in on the glamour of media. A lot of young students are getting misguided. They are looking for shortcuts to get into media. Media houses have started their own media schools. It provides them, apart from a resource pool, it also provides them a lot of free workers in the name of internship. The students learn. Dr. Nirmala, if you may please mute. Can the administrator mute participants?
Sir, I'm good.
Yes. Now, sorry, it breaks the flow. I have been muted. Yes, sorry, it breaks the flow. So, now, what is happening is that there is no standardization. I know there are participants from across the country. 23 राज्यों से 200 के करीब हमारे बंधु इससे जुड़े हुए हैं. मैं यूनिफॉर्मिटी की बात नहीं कर रहा हूं. यूनिफॉर्मिटी होनी भी नहीं चाहिए मीडिया एजुकेशन में. यूनिफॉर्मिटी हमारे जैसे एक डाइवर्स मुल्क में, विविधता पूर्ण मुल्क में, जहां भाषा अलग है, वेशभूषा अलग है, खान पान अलग है, आर्थिक स्थितियां अलग है, ऐसे परिस्थिति में एक ही यूनिफॉर्मिटी नहीं, लेकिन स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन, कुछ मानक तय होने चाहिए, कुछ बेंचमार्किंग होना चाहिए कि ये तो पढ़ाना ही है, चाहे कश्मीर हो या कन्याकुमारी हो, कच्छ हो या कामरूप हो, ये तो पढ़ाना ही है. क्या ऐसा कोई मीडिया का कोर्स हो सकता है जहां संविधान नहीं पढ़ाया जाता है? Where Constitution of India is not taught, where right to information is not taught, where media laws are not taught, sections, relevant sections of IPC and CRPC are not taught. Where ethics are not taught. What is happening today is that we are churning out a lot of technocrats. The entire emphasis is on technology. We are not focusing enough on creating media professionals, journalists, communicators, creative people. ये हम नहीं तैयार कर रहे हैं, हम टेक्निकल पर्सन तैयार कर रहे हैं। अब टेक्निकल पर्सन का क्या? हमारे घर में जो 5 साल का बच्चा है और 95 साल का बुजुर्ग है वो भी स्मार्टफोन यूज करना जानता है। आजकल के बच्चे हमसे ज्यादा जो है माहिर हैं स्मार्टफोन को यूज करने में, उनको सारे टेक्नोलॉजी मालूम है। वो उसको डिकंस्ट्रक्ट कर देते हैं एंड दे आर एबल टू टेल यू हाउ टू डू थिंग्स। व्हेन यू फेल दे विल टेल यू। अब हम उनको क्या सिखाएंगे? मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि टेक्नोलॉजी इंपॉर्टेंट, बच्चे ऑनलाइन होके कोडिंग सीख रहे हैं, गेमिंग सीख रहे हैं, किसी को सिखाने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ रही है। किड्स आर डूइंग इट ऑन देयर ओन। ठीक है, उसका एक नेगेटिव साइड भी है, दैट्स नॉट द टॉपिक टुडे, बट द एम्फेसिस सो मच ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी as against the actual need for emphasis on creativity and content. The importance of language. अब यहां से मैं NEP को जोड़ता हूं। NEP में मैंने जैसे कहा कि मीडिया एजुकेशन पर विशेष कोई चर्चा नहीं है, लेकिन NEP के ऐसे कई बिंदु है जो हमारे लिए प्रासंगिक है, which are relevant to us. There are points in the national education policy which are relevant to us as media educators. Let us begin with the basic premises on which NEP का पूरा डॉक्यूमेंट बना हुआ है. That is flexibility. What is the flexibility? One is, of course, first year the student gets a certificate, the second year the student gets a diploma, third year the student gets a simple degree, fourth year he gets a degree with an honors in research. ये फॉर्मेट है. तो सबसे पहला फायदा तो ये हुआ है कि a student which is applicable to all students, कई लोग 1 साल के लिए पढ़ के जो है उसको पूरा जर्नलिज्म करने की जरूरत नहीं है. 1 साल भी अगर पढ़ लिया तो जर्नलिज्म एजुकेशन बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है, मीडिया एजुकेशन. ये अब मैंडेटरी होने का पूरी संभावनाएं हैं. पहले क्या होता था, देश के जितने बड़े संपादक और पत्रकार रहे हैं उन्होंने कोई डिग्री या डिप्लोमा नहीं किया था. लेकिन टुडे जर्नलिज्म हैज बिकम, media has become an extremely skilled activity where you need to have skill sets. So journalism is a profession like that of a chartered accountant, like that of an advocate, like that of an engineer, like that of a doctor, where the core skills are to be there. Today it has become fashionable to talk about citizen journalism and stuff like that. But I have always believed that if you cannot have a citizen doctor, a citizen engineer, a citizen chartered accountant, you can't have a citizen journalist also. You can have citizen communicators. वो नागरिक संचारक हो सकते हैं, नागरिक पत्रकार नहीं हो सकते. पत्रकारिता तो एक विधा है, इट इज ए प्रोफेशन. उसको समझने की जरूरत है. आपको लिखना आ गया, आपको स्मार्टफोन यूज करना आ गया, आपको सोशल मीडिया यूज करना आ गया, तो आप पत्रकार नहीं बन जाते हैं. अब मुझे भी 2-3 दवाइयों का नाम मालूम है कि भाई सर दर्द और बुखार हो जाए तो क्रोसिन लेना चाहिए, हाँ, पेट में दर्द होने तो ये लेना चाहिए, दांत में दर्द हुआ तो अब इतने सालों का अनुभव है तो आपको पता है. बट डज इट मेक यू अ डॉक्टर? इट इज एज सिंपल एज दैट. इट डजंट. सो इफ मीडिया एजुकेशन हैज टू गेट इट्स ड्यू रिकॉग्निशन in the society and the country, media education has to be made mandatory for anybody seeking a vocation in media. That is the first and foremost thing. To give credibility to the, then only you can talk about regulation and standardization and all that. So the flexibility option enables one to come back and relearn. So I've completed a certificate program, but I want to pursue. I want a job. It offers me the basic skills. I can always come back. There is an academic credit bank. There are many journalists who are unable to pursue further education after their initial education for the simple reason that कि पढ़ाई छूट गई. एक साल पढ़ लिया था, लेकिन आगे पढ़ने का अवसर नहीं मिला. कल को किसी और फील्ड में भी जाना है, क्योंकि वो जमाना गया कि एक फील्ड में घुस गए तो आप जिंदगी भर रहेंगे. I also used to be a hardcore field reporter, a field journalist. From there I shifted to academics. But at that time I really had a tough time. At least 2-3 postgraduate programs I left halfway through. Spent money. It is of no use to me. साल भर कर लिया, आगे परस्यू नहीं कर पाया, ऑफिशियल एंगेजमेंट्स इस तरीके से रहे, समय नहीं मिला, छूट गया. आज ऐसा नहीं है. आज अगर छूट गया तो दोबारा 4 साल बाद जाके फिर ज्वाइन कर सकता हूं और अपने कन्वीनियंस पे ज्वाइन कर सकता हूं. कई स्टूडेंट्स को दिक्कत आती थी. भारतीय विद्या भवन, इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ मास कम्युनिकेशन, 1 साल का डिप्लोमा. आगे जरूरत पड़ती है कई जगह एकेडमिक्स में, सिविल सर्विस में, मास्टर्स की. क्या करें? 1 साल यहां लगा भी दिया. अब फिर या तो किसी नए फ्रेश एनरोल हो जाओ. और ज्यादातर लोग, एक आध अवेलेबल ऑप्शंस थे, गुरु जाम्बेश्वर यूनिवर्सिटी है जहां इसे 1 साल को मान्यता दी है, तो दूसरा साल कर सकते हैं. बट इट इज वन, मतलब not many people are aware. एक यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफर कर रही है, but today it is available in universities across the country. I have studied a part-time PG program in some institution, and tomorrow I can always go back to the institution or some other institution to complete that study to do a full-fledged postgraduate program. तो पहले तो ये flexibility. बट अगर आप मुझसे पूछेंगे, सो व्हाट आई लाइक अबाउट दिस NEP, an important aspect is the interdisciplinarity. What is the interdisciplinarity? Now, interdisciplinarity is that today I don't have to, in my choice based credit system, or when I go for a major or a minor, when I go for general elective options, I am not necessarily doing courses which are related to my stream. No. Which are not necessarily related to my stream. The choice is now with the students. He can not only choose a subject of his choice, but he can choose a teacher of his choice. Perhaps nowhere in the past we had such kind of a facility. Now, that is one reason. So a student of medicine can go for music. A student of science can go for Sanskrit. Now recently I had consultations with the Rajiv Gandhi Technology University in Bhopal with the Vice Chancellor and his team. So what we are currently discussing with them is that we offer our students courses which are available with the Rajiv Gandhi Technology University. They have environmental sciences. Now, if some of our students go for environmental studies, energy studies, environmental sciences, then what happens? He gets exposed to a new stream which can become his specialization, his or her specialization. So he or she can become a good environmental journalist, and I as an institution don't have to create the necessary infrastructure for that. If I have to create today, what is the problem? If I want to create a specialization, I need to first have the infrastructure, then I have to arrange for the faculty, permanent, regular, part-time, visiting.
Recording in progress.
These things I have to finalize. Only then can I think of a, but today, my student can opt for any course, any module under the NEP which is available in any other university, and he can obtain credits for the same. Not just that, so many MOOCs courses are available, produced by universities and institutions like the Consortium of Educational Communication. Can we utilize them? So the NEP gives me that flexibility to diversify my menu. I can offer them generic electives which are in subjects which hitherto not been studied in media. Similarly, a student at the RGPV, राजीव गांधी टेक्नोलॉजी यूनिवर्सिटी प्रौद्योगिकी विश्वविद्यालय, वो स्टूडेंट अगर आज चाहे तो वो मोबाइल जर्नलिज्म, मोबाइल पत्रकारिता पढ़ सकता है मेरे विश्वविद्यालय से. उसको वो विकल्प है उसके पास. अब वो सोचेगा मैं तो इंजीनियरिंग का स्टूडेंट हूं, मेरे मन में इच्छा है, क्योंकि भले आपने एक प्रोफेशन, एक लाइन चुन लिया हो, बाद में आप पाते हैं कि सम ऑफ द मोस्ट सक्सेसफुल पीपल नेवर बिलोंग टू दैट लाइन. I have a commissioner in public relation, the state government, who used to be the interim vice chancellor of our university also, Mr. Sudham Khade. He is an allopath, a doctor by profession, and he came into IAS. I have so many examples. I have a friend who was my colleague at the Press Trust of India. He was a successful journalist. He came from an MTech background from IIT Roorkee. And subsequently, he has now got into filmmaking. Now, what a journey from MTech to journalism to filmmaking. That is, this NEP actually facilitates that. So far क्या होता था, जो संपन्न परिवार से हैं वो तो किसी तरीके से अपने चॉइस के उसमें जा सकते हैं, लेकिन आज आपके एजुकेशन सिस्टम में ऐसे फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी आ गई है कि आई कैन ग्रुप दैट ऑल्सो टेक्स केयर ऑफ ए लॉट ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट इश्यूज, दैट ऑल्सो टेक्स केयर ऑफ स्पेशलाइजेशंस. आज वी यू नो actually regret, we say that no, look, there is no specialization in media education today, we are just producing the same kind of people. No, if I can have a tie-up with a medical institute, a medical university, a medical college, I can very well today think of designing in collaboration with them a public health communication course. Now I had to go to Oxford University to do that. But today you don't have to go to Oxford University to do it. You can, studying in Makhanlal University, you can actually do a course in public health communication. We can design that. We don't need public health experts on our panel. We have a tie-up with a medical college, and one of the generic electives can be taken from there. That is the flexibility option that the NEP offers that we need to remember. Let me come to the next subject, and that is language. I can speak on each aspect for 1.5 hours, but the time does not permit, because it's a subject close to my heart. I've been involved with the NEP, formulation right from the beginning. So I know what all went behind this entire thought process. Now, language skills. Language is no more just a language. Particularly for media, language is become a skill. In a country like India, English language is not a language, it's a skill. We don't think in English. We don't, speak in English at home. वो हमारी मातृभाषा नहीं है, वो हमारी राजभाषा नहीं है, वो हमारे ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेजेस में नहीं है मतलब कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में है, लेकिन वो हमारे कहीं भी भारतीय भाषाओं में नहीं है उसकी गिनती। लेकिन उसके जाने बगैर वो सफलता का एक पर्यायवाची बन गया है कि हाँ, आपको अगर अंग्रेजी आती है तो आपको कई जगह में आपके दरवाजे खुल जाएंगे। अफसोस की बात है, जापान में ऐसा नहीं है। बड़े बड़े वैज्ञानिक, बड़े बड़े अधिकारी वो अपनी भाषा में बोलते हैं। कोरिया में ऐसा नहीं है, वो कोरियन में बोलते हैं। अंग्रेजी पर उतना निर्भरता नहीं है। लेकिन हमारे यहाँ एक संपर्क भाषा के रूप में लिंगुआ फ्रैंका इट हैज डेवलप्ड, और हमें देश के ही अलग अलग जगह से, अभी मैंने परसों ही राजभाषा दिवस के उपलक्ष्य में मैंने सवेरे एक जगह संबोधित कर रहा था एक कॉलेज में, तो वहाँ कुछ अहिंदी भाषी क्षेत्र से भी लोग थे, एंड दे सेड दैट प्लीज स्पीक इन इंग्लिश, वी कैन नॉट अंडरस्टैंड। नाउ, so what is English? English is a skill. If you want to reach out to more people, you need to at least have an understanding of the language. It's a skill. It enables you to work not just in India but also internationally. So acquire that skill. It's a skill. We need not be emotional about it. It's a skill. Similarly, any language has today become a skill, apart from its emotional contours. If I am a multilingual person, it helps me in my growth. It helps me in reaching out to a larger audience. It helps me in understanding the different publics. When I speak in their language, they become more comfortable. If I go to, say, the Bundelkhand region of my state, and if I know Bundeli, I will be able to immediately connect with the locals. Otherwise, they tend to look at me as an outsider. If I go to Bagelkhand, and if I speak in Bagheli, they will understand me better. So if I am posted in Bagelkhand, I will be a successful media person if I, apart from my understanding of Hindi and English, if I am also good at Bagheli. So language is a skill. So that skill need to be developed. एंड व्हाट इज रॉन्ग विथ टुडेज लैंग्वेज स्किल, चाहे अंग्रेजी हो या हिंदी हो, भाषा और वर्तनी में बहुत सारी दिक्कतें आ रही है। मैं जहां जाता हूं वहां मुझे मीडिया प्रोप्राइटर्स मिलते हैं, मैनेजमेंट के लोग मिलते हैं, तो वो लोग कहते हैं कि सुरेश साहब, आजकल आप लोगों के विश्वविद्यालयों से, आप लोगों के संस्थाओं से, चाहे आईएमसी हो, माखनलाल हो, भाषा और वर्तनी में इतनी कमी दिखाई दे रही है। So at our university at Makhanlal, the new campus which is coming up, we are going to set up a language lab, Bhasha Prayogshala. The whole idea is to improve the linguistic language skills of our students. उनका accent ठीक हो, उनका उच्चारण ठीक हो. That is the whole idea. The language is a skill which can enable you to be multitaskers. आज हम कई चैनल देखते हैं कि हिंदी में भी चलाते हैं, अंग्रेजी में भी चलाते हैं, तो टाइम्स नाउ का जो करस्पॉन्डेंट है वो टाइम्स नाउ भारत के लिए भी रिपोर्ट करता है। नेटवर्क 18 का जो करस्पॉन्डेंट है वो इंग्लिश में भी करता है, हिंदी में भी करता है, और अब नेटवर्क 18 मराठी हो गया तो एक मराठी करस्पॉन्डेंट को वहां लगाने की जरूरत नहीं है। वो अगर मराठी व्यक्ति है, उसकी मातृभाषा मराठी है, तो हिंदी, अंग्रेजी और मराठी तीनों भाषा में वो बात कर सकता है, तनख्वाह तो बढ़ेगी ही, and your visibility improves. So language is a skill that needs to be developed, which has been given a lot of importance in this document, the National Education Policy. So interdisciplinarity, flexibility, language skills, a lot of emphasis has been given on MOOCs, on internet education, internet-based education. Now that is going to change the entire, on innovation. NEP का document में special purpose vehicles have been created, specially there is a mention for technology, and the future of media is a lot in technology. Artificial intelligence, robotics, graphics, animation, visual effects, gaming, comics. Huge demand for animation. Indian kids are today watching animation like never before. But majority of those animations are from Japan, South Korea, China, not our own. So doesn't it offer for a majority of our people, isn't it a great option in terms of job creation, in terms of creativity? इन अपॉर्चुनिटीज को एनकरेज किया है नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में. I can see one of my faculty members, Lieutenant Mukesh Chaurase. Now, National Cadet Corps, National Service Scheme, Rashtriya Seva Yojana. Now, they used to be kind of pastime activity, part-time activity, hobby. For majority of the students who used to be active. But today, thanks to NEP, they will be offered as generic electives. So we are now about to sign an agreement with the National Cadet Corps. So we can take it from 6 to 24 credits. We can offer them under the national education policy. NSS similarly offers you credits, wherein we can weave in 2 credits to, more credits. We can plan it. So you can, even as you pursue your passion, that is also not a wastage of your time, that adds credits to your kitty. That is interdisciplinarity. Technology I have already spoken about. Language skills we have already spoken about, discussed. A lot of emphasis has been given on nurturing our traditions. We have been, from a media perspective, we have been influenced over the years by the Western dominated global communication order. We have been looking at things from a Western perspective. This, you look at majority of the books that we teach, majority of the communication theories that we teach. I am not saying don't teach. We need to understand that. That is why we have excelled in different fields. But what has been happening is that we have been learning everything from all over the world except our own country. We also had a rich communication tradition in this country. A long historic tradition. Some of the finest classics have been written in our different languages. In Sanskrit, in Tamil, in Malayalam, in, Bangla. Treatises have been written. Drama has been written. Now, we have produced some of the, but what we have been looking at we have been looking at things through a Western perspective. So though Shakespeare came late, we still refer to Kalidasa as the Shakespeare of India. In fact, Shakespeare should be referred to as the Kalidasa of the West. But we have started looking at everything from a Western perspective. They say that, in Kerala, there is a place, Alleppey. So I read, somewhere that it is the Venice of the East. Why should it be Venice of the East? It should be, Venice should be Alleppey of the West. Why is Kashmir, the most beautiful Kashmir, is referred to as the Switzerland of India? Switzerland should be referred to as Kashmir of Europe. So everything we look at from a Western perspective. What the West shows, what the West is the example, is the role model for everything. We have to emulate. This thing will go only if we talk about our own tradition, our own, now the kind of work that has been done in philosophy in this country. The kind of work that has been done in, medical history. Whether it is Charaka, it is Sushruta. To C.V. Raman and J.C. Bose. It's a long history. In communication, it's Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra, which is a treatise on communication. We had a tradition of Vimarsh. It's in our scriptures, it is in our texts. You will find that there has always been a discourse, a dialogue. There has never been a monologue. whether it is between Krishna and Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, or between Yama and Nachiketa, you will always find a Q&A. That inquisitiveness have always been there. And the answer is always true. The best of treatises have come from a question and answer. That discourse between Adi Shankaracharya and Mandana Mishra. We have had a long tradition of communication in this country. Now that is something that we need to, along with of course the Western, whatever concepts have come, that also need to be, from Western, that also need to be studied. But why are we forgetting our own history and traditions? It gives us a sense of pride that it's not that the Brits came and civilized us. As Swami Vivekananda said, when we were at the peak of our civilization, they were still wandering around in forests. So we have had a tradition which should be inculcated in every stream. Along with the developments in the West, in the East, and why only West? Japan has done extremely well. Korea has done well. Australasia has done well. Latin America has done well. So why are we only looking at US, Canada, Africa, and Europe and United States? Africa. In neighborhood, like the Grameen Bank in Bangladesh, tremendous work they have done to be learned. Sierra Leone, community radio has been so effectively utilized, particularly during the Ebola crisis. Small countries have done their bit. That is what we need to teach. Examples have to be taken. West should not be the only, role model for us. सिर्फ पश्चिम से हम लेके दिखा रहे हैं. So this document insists, stresses, emphasizes on the importance of weaving into our curriculum our traditions, our communication tradition, our history. That is important. Last but not the least, because time is, I think I'm running short of time, is values, ethics and values. The entire focus, whether it is of Mahatma Gandhi or Swami Vivekananda, all our great founding fathers, they always spoke about character building and man making education. ये जो कोरोना का ये जो संकट हुआ उसमें हमने देखा बड़े बड़े रईस लोग भी ब्लैक मार्केटिंग कर रहे थे. ऑक्सीजन कॉन्सेंट्रेटर्स को जो है ब्लैक मार्केटिंग कर रहे थे. लोग ऑक्सीजन के बगैर मर रहे थे 20-20. कल कोई मुझे दिल्ली से मिलने आया, वो बता रहे थे कि 30,000 रुपए का उन्होंने सिलेंडर खरीदा था, एक सिलेंडर, जो कुछ 100 रुपए में आपको मिल जाता है नॉर्मल टाइम्स में. उसको आप 30,000 में. रेमडेसिविर को हमने कितना ब्लैक मार्केटिंग इस देश में हुआ. मतलब एक बहुत ही कठिन समय से जब देश और समाज गुजर रहा था, तब भी हम इससे बाज नहीं आए. अच्छे काम भी किए लोगों ने, लेकिन इसकी बात करनी चाहिए इसलिए क्योंकि हमारे वो मानवीय मूल्य कहां चले गए. बाजारवाद इतना हावी हो गया है, कंज्यूमरिज्म, दैट मनी, वी हैव स्टार्टेड वर्शिपिंग मैमॉन. बाप बड़ा ना भैया, सबसे बड़ा रुपया. वेयर आर द वैल्यूज? नाउ we have been preaching values, but वो एक गाना पहले चला था ना, पापा डोंट प्रीच. ये प्रीचिंग सबसे ज्यादा हम बंक करते थे स्कूल में क्लासेस, तो मॉरल साइंस के क्लास को बंक करते थे, क्योंकि आप अगर समाज में वो चीज देखते नहीं है और आर्टिफिशियल बात करेंगे तो लोगों को उसमें ईमानदारी नहीं दिखती है। विश्वसनीयता तब बनती है अगर मैं 14 घंटे काम करता हूं और तब मैं कहता हूं कि एक बड़े विद्वान के बारे में कहते हैं, कुछ लोग उनको गांधी जी के साथ जोड़ते हैं, तो कुछ कहानियों में कहते हैं कि वो प्रोफेट मोहम्मद के बारे में है, लेकिन मैंने सुना है 2-3 जगह से, जिसमें एक बच्चे को लेकर एक माँ उनके पास गई और उनसे कहा कि ये बहुत मीठा खाता है, आप इसको मना कर दीजिए। तो वो इतना ही कहते थे कि आप ज़्यादा मीठा खाना अच्छा नहीं है। फिर वो दूसरी बार ले गए कई महीनों बाद, कहा कि ये बच्चा बहुत मीठा खाता है, आप अगर कह देंगे तो ये खाना बंद कर देगा, इसके दांत में कीड़े पड़ रहे हैं, सारा कुछ हो रहा है, आप इसको जरा सा मना कर दीजिए। वो कहते हैं कि ज़्यादा मीठा खाना सही नहीं है, यही कहकर वो हमेशा वापस भेज देते थे। लेकिन चौथे बार जब 2-3 साल बाद, 1-2 साल बाद जब गए और कहा कि आपसे इतनी बार कहा, आप एक बार मना कर देंगे, क्योंकि ये बात तो हम भी उसको बताते हैं, लेकिन वो ये कहते हैं कि हजरत साहब या गांधी जी, दोनों अलग अलग कहानियां हैं, तो अगर आप उनको बता देंगे तो हम मान लेंगे, तो बता दीजिए आप। तो उन्होंने कहा कि ठीक है, ज़्यादा मीठा मत खाओ। तो ये माँ ने पूछा कि मैं 2 साल से आपके चक्कर लगा रही हूं और आपको यही गुजारिश करती रही कि आप जरा सा बोलिए कि मीठा मत खाओ, आप हमेशा बोलते रहे ज्यादा मीठा खाना अच्छा नहीं है, आप तब नहीं मना कर सकते थे क्या? तो कहते नहीं मना कर सकता था। कहते आज फिर क्यों मना किया? कहते कि वो इसलिए तब मैं खुद ज्यादा मीठा खाता था, अब पिछले 2 साल से मैंने मीठा कम कर दिया है, तो इसलिए मैं वो नैतिक अधिकार रखता हूं जहां मैं मना कर सकता हूं। इसमें क्रेडिबिलिटी बढ़ती है, विश्वसनीयता बढ़ती है। अगर आप खुद एक गलत काम कर रहे हैं और आप लोगों को सब कुछ दिखता है और फिर आप कहेंगे कि यह सही काम आप करिए, तो फिर लोग उसको गंभीरता से लेते नहीं है। आपको वो अपने जीवन में आत्मसात करना होगा। यह टीचर की सबसे बड़ी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी एनईपी में है। अगर आप खुद ऑब्जेक्टिव नहीं है, आप खुद ट्रूथफुल नहीं है, तो आप ट्रूथ और ऑब्जेक्टिविटी कैसे क्लासरूम में सिखाएंगे? लोग कहेंगे अरे ये ट्रूथ और ऑब्जेक्टिविटी की बात करता है, सत्य और वस्तुनिष्ठा की बात करता है, निष्पक्षता की बात करता है, लेकिन इससे बड़ा पक्षतापूर्ण व्यक्ति हमने देखा नहीं है, इससे बड़ा झूठा आदमी हमने देखा नहीं है, और ये आदमी हमको सिखा रहा है, तो क्या क्रेडिबिलिटी होगी? तो क्रेडिबिलिटी के लिए वो जरूरी है दैट व्हेन वी टीच, इट इज नॉट जस्ट then it becomes preaching, not teaching. You have to live what you are preaching. If you are talking about simplicity, you have to be a simple person. You cannot be living a luxurious life and talking about simplicity. वो इतना बेईमानी लगती है। वो चीज आपको क्लासरूम में, स्टूडेंट्स आपको सबसे ज्यादा, आप प्लीज इस बात को याद रखिए, a student spends more time with his teachers in his school or college or university than with his parents or peer group. So the maximum impact on a student is that of his teacher. So when I talk about values and ethics, if you are going to teach it separately, don't do like that. But in your own social media post, you are extremely biased. You are extremely motivated. how do you expect to teach that to your student? That balance, that sense of balance that is required. If that is not there, then how do you teach? इसलिए it is important that the student is watching you. He is watching your social media posts. He is following you. And he actually matches your words with your deeds. And then he or she comes to the conclusion that, well, otherwise, अरे ये तो बकलोली है, बोलता रहता है, आदत है बोलने की, भाषण झाड़ता है, अब शुरू हो गया भाषण, लो. बट अगले को जब आप देखते हैं कि ये बोलता है तो उसको फॉलो भी करता है, तो कैन वी रीच दैट पोजीशन जहां मैं वही बोलूंगा जो मैं कहता हूं, और वो जो मैं करता हूं. Then the credibility of the ethics, the values that I teach, हम बाहर से इंडस्ट्री के लोगों को लाते हैं, वो आके बोलते हैं, लोगों को पता है कि वो स्क्रीन में ऑन स्क्रीन क्या बोलते हैं. You cannot have a different persona on screen and off screen. You have to be the same. You cannot play Jekyll and Hyde. You need to have a certain, you have to set certain standards, set certain benchmarks. That is the role of the teacher. And then when you talk about values, ethics, when you follow it personally in your write-ups, in your own articles, in your own social media, then students will say yes. So, friends, as I said that, NEP, the critical role is of ours as teachers. We have a role. हम उसको किस तरीके से इम्प्लीमेंट करते हैं, उस पर इस नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी का सफलता निर्भर करेगी. मैंने कुछ आयामों को छूने का प्रयास किया है. आई थिंक आई हैव स्पोकन फॉर ओवर एन आवर, and without much ado, if there are questions, I will be happy to answer. I am not here to उद्घाटन और समापन सत्र में तो औपचारिकतावश मुझे आपके बीच में आना ही पड़ेगा, लेकिन वहाँ वार्तालाप का, इंटरैक्शन का गुंजाइश नहीं है. इसलिए मैंने वाजपेयी जी से गुजारिश की कि मैं हार्डकोर टीचर हूँ, और मैं जब डायरेक्टर जनरल था IIMC में, तब भी मैं क्लासेस लेता था. I used to take up the additional responsibility as course director of the radio and television program also, because I love teaching, I love being with my students. अब एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर का काम करना पड़ता है, that is more of a मजबूरी. But essentially I am a teacher. So it is always a pleasure interacting with teachers from across the country. बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है आप लोगों के बीच में आकर. अगर कोई आपके मन में कोई संशय या कुछ विचार अगर आप प्रकट करना चाहते हैं तो हम 10-15 मिनट कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि तुरंत मुझे एक दूसरे कार्यक्रम में भी निकलना है. लेकिन मेरा ये मन में बहुत इच्छा थी कि आप लोगों के बीच में आऊं और कुछ आप लोगों के साथ वार्तालाप करूं. धन्यवाद. थैंक यू मनीषा. Thank you the Department of Media Management for inviting me and facilitating this discussion. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for always motivating us, for encouraging us, for organizing such type of FDP's workshop and giving us the time. Ankit